All right, hello everybody. We're Group One. We're the idea creation team. We are Braxton, Jessica, and Joseph, or Brax J cubed. So,
Because we're that cool.
yeah, we are. So in the PDCA method, idea creation is the first technique. After idea creation, evaluation and decision making comes next. There are not any tools that connect us to the previous technique because we're the first. We're focused on creating ideas, and the next technique is focused on deciding what idea they will use using evaluation tools.
So there are many techniques and tools that you can use in each category. We've set up a bunch of them. The one I got assigned was the 9-window method. You can see it up in the corner. It's basically defined as a method for exploring issues and their potential impacts. So think of like a risk analysis for an idea or a decision. And you do that by examining the past, present, and the future of both high-level areas and their related subsections. So essentially, how the 9-window method works is it's created to ensure that companies, teams, and individuals don't stop innovating and developing new ideas. And it also can help break the psychological inertia associated with repeating the same actions and expecting the same results, which is basically like, hey, we've always done it this way, why change it? Or why do anything any different? It's just going to be the same result. This you can lay it out really nicely in a grid and kind of look and see what you want the outcome to be and kind of how you could make that happen. So how you do it is there's 3 rows. There's the super system row, the system row, and the subsystem row. And then there's 3 columns. There's past, present, and future. So to complete the system row, you list what started the problem in the middle box. And then you list the goal where the project will ideally end up after the solution in the future system cell. And then in the past box, you put in like how you got to that, like how you got to the incident happening or the idea. To complete the super system row, you list everything that you would do to prevent the current problem or what you would do if you had a risk. And then you list everything that you can do to fix the problem going forward in the future box. So that's really the way that the 9-window method works is you take your idea and then you're like, how can it be, what happened in the past or what could happen in the past and what could happen in the future? And then how can we relate everything together? How it relates to deliverables is it generally generates innovative ideas. It addresses user needs. It identifies potential risks and issues because you have to think an idea all the way through. And it allows for collaboration and cross-functional input. For roles and responsibilities, there's usually a facilitator. Usually it's like the team lead that starts out, and then the team are the people who fill out the boxes. And it's crucial that the team that the 9 windows will affect fills out the boxes. So it can't just be done by random people. And that's the 9-window method.
Okay, the next one is brainstorming. So some tools that can be used with brainstorming, so like a whiteboard or a flip chart. You can use them as large writing surfaces, and they're usually used during the brainstorming sessions with the team because they're easy for everybody to see and get the ideas down visually. Each of the participants can write down their ideas, they can draw pictures, they can create mind maps, allowing for easy visualization and collaboration. But you don't have to do it like down on paper or on a whiteboard. There are digital programs that allow for something similar. It's just helpful to get those ideas written down on paper so you don't forget anything that's said during the brainstorming session. because that kind of defeats the purpose of the session if you just forget all the ideas you came up with. Some pros to brainstorming is that it encourages the generation of a large number of ideas quickly. It creates an open and supportive environment that allows participants to freely share their thoughts and suggestions. It involves the group participation, which fosters the collaboration and engagement. But it also allows individuals to build off of each other's ideas, which is super important because somebody may say something and it just sparks a idea or innovation from somebody else. And that's really what brainstorming sessions are really about, is just like bouncing ideas off of each other to really get to an idea that works well for the problem or whatever you're trying to use the brainstorming session for. But it leads to the development of more refined and innovative solutions. Some cons of brainstorming, though, is that some people might dominate the brainstorming session or suffer from groupthink or mob mentality. So instead of getting a bunch of unique ideas and stuff, some people may want to conform and not be the odd one out or whatever. And so they might be afraid to put out a diverse opinion, which can limit the exploration of unique ideas and perspectives. Participants may also hesitate to share unconventional or risky ideas due to the fear of judgment or criticism from others, which can hinder the emergence of truly innovative solutions. But I mean, if you're really wanting to brainstorm properly, then out-of-the-box thinking is really what it's about. Thinking about those ideas that wouldn't normally come about by just like one person thinking. The quality of brainstorming is that you can evaluate the feasibility and the practicality of the ideas generated. Consider factors such as available resources, time constraints, and potential implementation challenges, and look for ideas that have realistic potential for execution. That can be done during the brainstorming session. So an idea can be thrown out there and then the group can be like, well, is that even feasible? And if not, I mean, it can be scratched off during the brainstorming session to help with the decision and evaluation technique that comes after. In a life cycle phase during the waterfall method, it would be used during the requirements gathering and design phase. And in Agile, it'd be used during sprint planning, backlog refinement, and the retrospective meetings. Relating to the quality deliverables, generating innovative ideas, addressing user needs, identifying potential risk issues, iterative improvement, and collaboration and cross-functional input. It's kind of how the quality deliverables go. And then there's a few roles and responsibilities. So the facilitator, participants, scribe or note taker, and then the evaluation team. So the facilitator is kind of self-explanatory. They run the meeting. The participants are basically the shark tank, the bunch of people in there that are coming up with the ideas. The scribe or note taker, pretty self-explanatory too, just takes down the notes of what's being said. And the evaluation team is in charge of reviewing and evaluating the ideas during the brainstorming session. But that role is kind of optional, but it's a good one to have. But that is brainstorming.
Okay, and so this is another method you could use to generate some ideas. So this one is involved with kind of collecting data about kind of some certain property and trying to see what improvements you can make from that. So you can benchmark a lot of things. I can benchmark, I can lay out a process using this chart to the right where it says project status. I can lay out different tasks in a process and the time it takes, and I can see which time takes the longest, basically. And I can try to seek for an improvement, try to come up with ideas for improvement for that one task. So kind of helps us come up with ideas for improving different areas. And this all can be done with different design algorithms. So if you think of an algorithm, you can benchmark that. You can kind of compare how that compares to other ones, and you can help make decisions and kind of decide how come up with ideas of what you want to change. So so the two tools that are used for this, a lot of tools, are Gantt charts and House of Quality matrices. So Gantt chart is just this chart to the right. We can just compare a lot of different kind of measurements. You can kind of see bottlenecks and come up with ideas. And you can compare this to another chart if you did this for another one, and maybe swap out units to see for the best one. So like if another company is using a better CPU, then you may want to swap out your CPU with theirs so you can kind of take advantage of that one aspect. Another one is these matrices, which are basically just a bunch of a matrix that compares them side by side. So you can see how each value compares differently. Some pros of benchmarking is it helps you find improvement areas to improve, and but you still have to come up with another con of that, though, is that in order to start benchmarking, you have to know ahead of time what metrics you kind of want to look after, you want to explore, and what qualities you can use to judge like which one's better. So those are kind of dependent on those two decisions. So yeah, that is benchmarking. So another technique is the nominal group technique. This is very similar to brainstorming, except just a little more stricter. But so because it's a little more stricter, can't do the same thing everything brainstorming can do. Its primary focus is to help its primary focus is to not so much explore different ideas, but to come up with ideas and then come to agreement on the ideas. So unlike brainstorming, where you have different ideas and talk about them and you have discussions about them, find them, it's more strict in the form that people usually kind of follows this technique down here, where you state the problem that you want to address and the roles and responsibilities. You state the problem they want to address. Everyone give a period of time where if each individual brainstorms different ideas and solutions for that problem, then there's another period of time where they list the ideas. They just go in a circle and you can list your idea one at a time, and then they'll just write down each idea. So each idea is visible and seen and heard, but without discussion. So that way it can't be drowned out by some people that are more vocal than other people. And so everything seems to be seen. So after that step, then each idea is discussed, and it's less about discussing like why it's good or bad. It's usually just trying to focus on clarification. So explaining each idea so as well as you can, so everything's explained, not so much explaining like how you can explain how you feel, whether you agree or disagree, but not trying to convince another person. And then the last step is vote on the best ideas afterwards. So it's just another form of brainstorming that allows you to kind of be more stricter and kind of hopefully have better habits to conduct the meeting.
All right, and lastly, the last technique we'll be talking about is the affinity diagram technique. So tools that can be used, pretty much anything, but we got sticky notes and whiteboards, just kind of to make sure that you can organize your data. So this would typically happen after a brainstorming session. It's an organized output from a brainstorming session. And some pros to this is the affinity diagram process lets a group move beyond its habitual thinking and preconceived categories. It has organization and structure. The affinity technique provides a structured approach to organizing and categorizing information. There's also good visual representation. The use of sticky notes and visual clustering on whiteboards or digital tools creates a visual representation of information. Some cons that come with this is time and resource intensive. Affinity sessions can be time consuming, especially if there are a large number of participants or a substantial amount of information to be organized. Subjectively and bias, the outcome of affinity sessions can be influenced by the participants subjectively and have biases. Limited scope, while affinity techniques is effective for organizing and categorizing information, it may not provide a comprehensive analysis or solution. So the quality evaluation or test for the affinity technique primarily focuses on the effectiveness and accuracy of the information organization and clustering. It involves reviewing the following aspects: consistency, completeness, relevance, usability, and validation. So as far as the life cycle phases, the technique of affinity is commonly used in various life cycle phases across multiple life cycle methodologies. Some of the life cycle phases where this technique can be applied include requirement gathering, design, and risk management. So relating to quality deliverables, the technique of affinity is closely related to the quality deliverables by providing a structured approach to organizing and categorizing information. By using affinity, teams can identify common themes, patterns, or relationships among requirements, design ideas, risks, or defects. This enables a better understanding, collaboration, and decision-making, leading to improved quality deliverables. So the roles and responsibilities for affinity, it's pretty similar to brainstorming. It includes a facilitator, which is responsible for the affinity session and guiding the participant through the process. It has the participants, the people that participate, domain experts. Depending on specific context, domain experts may be involved to provide their expertise and insights during the affinity session. And lastly, they have the project manager. The project manager may oversee the execution of the affinity techniques, ensuring that it aligns with project objectives, timelines, and resource allocations. They may also be responsible for tracking the outcomes of the affinity sessions and incorporating the results into project plans and deliverables.
Okay, these are our sources that we used. So we have our primary, secondary, and other color-coded for convenience. But otherwise, that is our presentation. Thank you guys for